Hello and welcome to episode 178 of Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, a weekly podcast where we figure out what we think about everything. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
And this week we're going to talk about going on holiday.
Going on holiday.
It's fun, isn't it? It's so relaxing.
It is. I mean, and what do you do? Where do you go on holiday if you're stuck on holiday and everyone comes to you to go on holiday, but they're on holiday and you're not? And that's also hard, in my opinion.
And also, like, I have a bad habit of over like not doing very, like, Sharon loves planning a holiday and I like avoiding any sort of planning or thinking about anything at all. I'll just like click buy on the flight and buy on the hotel, and that is about as much preparation as I will do into something, flight or train. That's hard enough, and then so I tend to sort of get somewhere and realise that I have really not thought this through, and and I paid a bit too much, things like that. So but also I've been reading, I finally got around to reading Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week book this week, and I'm not very far through it, but it seems like his point is like you sort of design the lifestyle you want, and that tends to involve an intense period of working and then an intense period of doing something else that you want to do, like going on a holiday or going on a trip somewhere. And that's actually like a cadence. I haven't tried of all the different. I don't want to say cadence, but it is a cadence, like a full week, weekends, part-time, like long weekend, long time off, breaks. I've not tried the work till burnout, but then have a holiday for like a month.
Is that what he sells?
I don't know if it's burnout. Well, we'll get into it a bit more, but because
okay.
because the irony of it being that I've been putting in like 11-hour days after reading the 4-Hour Work Week this week is a bit silly, isn't it? But yeah, the point is, like, how do we sort of like design a lifestyle that lets us kind of sort of minimize how, just sort of have that structure of existence where we do a bit of work and get something out of that, and then we go somewhere else and do something like that. Go on holiday. Okay.
Let's go for it.
And you're just on holiday permanently as well.
Yeah, I live on holiday.
Live on holiday.
So basically,
lucky for some.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Here we go. How's it going, Ivanka?
Today I lost at a swimming race.
Oh my goodness.
I came last. I didn't just not win.
That's after telling me you'd been putting in a don't break the chain every day
I've done
swimming.
A don't break the chain 14 days in a row swimming 1 kilometre. I also this week Nick was like, hey, let's do a triathlon. Of course. So we did a 5k run, 10k mountain bike, 1k swim. That was yesterday. Yeah. And today the child's swimming club thing had a awards celebration thing, and there was a parent, did a bunch of middle-aged unfit people. And I was wrong. I swam as fast as I could. I really did, and then I was last. I was, but what was worse was that the child was really disappointed.
The child was disappointed. She wanted her mother to be a winner.
I wanted you to win. I didn't want you to come last.
I told all my friends that you were the strongest mummy.
I was also the oldest mummy. I'm going to use that.
Okay.
And I'm going to use the fact that I just never ever sprint. I don't go fast. I don't go fast on a mountain bike. I don't go fast on a run. I don't go fast. But maybe, judging by how knackered I am from swimming 33 metres as fast as I could, front crawl as well, which is not my strong. I can do front crawl. I'm getting better at front crawl. I've been practicing doing it quite at a leisurely tempo so that I can get my technique right. So I've not tested it in extreme speed because I'm still in perfecting the stroke mode. Anyway,
well, look, you learned something about yourself today.
I did. I think perhaps sprinting is a useful thing for fitness. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, that's what happened this week. That happened this morning. But yeah, there you go. Okay. That's the major headline from the week.
Well, we can keep it snappy.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm good. I started reading this book, feeling a bit like my app sales are just miserable again, and I'm like, right. And then I started reading this Tim Ferriss book and going, and then just thought, okay, well, let's just try being effective and instead of being efficient at stuff that probably doesn't need to be done. Because I think what he talks about, like a lot of the work we do is performative, just to sort of look busy, especially like in an office. It's something you sort of have to do to sort of get by. I think just like look like you're really busy all the time, and then people sort of like respect your job kind of thing. But I think a combination of me sort of like wanting that sort of attention from people that, oh wow, look, and that sort of work thing, that work performativeness, is I think I do spend a lot too much time doing stuff that looks busy but probably isn't really necessary. That I can sort of talk about how much work I've done, instead of just going, okay, what's the 20% of work that I need to do that will have the 80% effect, and what is the 80% that I can cut out that's not actually really giving me anything. So I'm just looking at things in those terms this week, but it did mean that I've been putting in these extra long days trying to get like my new version. I was like, well, this needs to be done, and because he also said like the thing about how your time will, any task, it just expands to fill the available time. So just like set yourself a really tight time limit. So I went, okay, well, Monday I'm going to finish this new feature for the app. Tuesday I'm going to do the thing. Wednesday I'm going to do the marketing copy. Thursday's bug fixing. Fridays I'm releasing. This is something that could have taken me weeks, but I was just like, no, I'm just going to give myself 1 week. So we're going to de-scope a feature. We're going to get into it.
Yeah.
But also because Sharon's parents are here, it means that she's not been home in the evenings. So I've just been like staying in the studio late and working. So it's like a combination of two things, meaning that I've been putting lots of time into this thing. I also did a really good interview with Paul DeCane, DJ, on Tuesday, where he talked about his how he set up his DJ stream. It turned out he made this song that we'd heard that goes, "Everybody in the place, rock the party." You remember that song with the thing? Everybody in the house, rock. Everybody in the house, rock that thing. So yeah, he made that track that got to number 9 in the 90s, and I didn't even realise that was him because I just know him as a streamer that does an amazing DJ stream. And it turned out he spent like 6 months preparing to go live, basically, and he's got this whole background in like cameras and marketing and all that kind of thing. So I had a really good chat with him, so that's something I'm going to be working on. Anyway, that's me. Basically, I do not exist outside of, you ask me how I am and I say work is going this way because my life is to, apart from, and it's like, and then I chilled with Shaz and we watched Home Before Dark, which is all right.
Is it?
Yeah, fine.
I watched Vivo, the new animated movie on the Disney Plus channel. It was alright.
Haven't seen that.
It's quite good. There's one track in it that's quite good. Bit modern.
Okay.
Rather than Disney. Woo.
Shall we see your race?
Yes, go on.
Although the thing is, like, no one's watching the stream. Maybe Sharon is, and no one's paying for the videos. So I mean, there's 2 people paying, so no one's going to see this. But if you want to see this race, then you can sign up on Patreon and see it.
So here we have it. We're at the Supercar race day. The children have already got their medals, and we have Ivanka Majic over there in lane 2. And they're off. She's got a slow start. Thinks she missed the whistle. Anyway, everyone is off. Lane 5 going really strong. Let's zoom out here. Let's go and look what's going on. Oh my God, here is she. There she is. There's Mummy. We can see her. She's putting in a great effort. Oh my God. What a race. Over in 2 seconds. There's Mummy just coming in.
And that was Ivanka's race. I think with commentary from Nick, I couldn't hear the sound levels, so I don't know what this bloody podcast sounds like at the moment. I think I altered an input just now, and it may have just gone and destroyed everything. But hey, it's a high quality podcast. Also, the sounds outside the window, I will be showing what is making those sounds. They're tearing down a building, the old British Legion, outside my window, and there's no point trying to hide from the noise, so we just have to embrace it. Right, going on holiday.
When did you last go on holiday, Michael?
Well, I did go. We went up to Liverpool a couple of weeks ago. That's not really a holiday, but it was a couple of days where I had to like plan something and book something, and but you know the buyer's remorse of that, as you may, I can't even remember if I said, but yeah, just it was expensive to get on the train. It was expensive to stay in the hotel. I had a driving lesson this week though, which I think is going to make going on holiday a lot better once I can drive. Different.
Better. Don't know. Get more freedom to go around and watch things, look at things, visit things. Maybe. Yeah. Good. So you've been to Liverpool. I went wild camping. That was my recent holiday. I think. How much? First, go on.
Well, how much planning did that take? Because you just jumped and did it, right?
Yeah, we've got a van that is equipped for camping.
So you're sort of sceptical about the whole driving thing, but then like you're able to do that. I couldn't. Well, I suppose I could book a ticket and get on, but yeah, that's just a whole class of holiday that is not available to me.
True. It does give one a degree, but then you can't. If you're looking for wild camping spots, you don't, or it can be very hit and miss as well. It can just be the wrong place, which doesn't really help. But yeah, I think, and we don't really plan our holidays very well at all. We don't book them in. That's one of the complaints that I get. That's what prompted our daughters. But Daddy, stop talking about it. You're stuck on holiday. We are stuck on holiday. It was because we forget to book them in.
Right.
I think because we do live in a very nice place. That's part of it, and Brighton is as well. You know, I've deliberately stayed at home in August in Brighton before, just so I can enjoy Brighton when. Right. You know, when it's not full on work time.
So would you recommend living on holiday?
No.
Well,
it's tricky because, going back to your 4-hour week thing, what made me, I thought it was different. When you said one of the examples was this idea of like working really hard and then having periods of time away from work, I'm not sure that's a sustainable pattern, because for example now that once we've got a child as well, there's school holidays to accommodate, and you can only go away at weekends and during school holidays, really, unless you're going to take your child out of school for a period, which here is technically at the teacher's discretion, but in England is actually illegal. Well, you can get fined. Don't know if it's illegal.
Expensive.
But also, like, I don't think I can work full pelt. I have too many family obligations. I have too many demands on my time. So
yeah, definitely a sense I've got from reading this book, and I'm still not that far through it. It's like this is all very well, but I don't see how this works if you do have a family. I don't see.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked very hard this year and done some really long days, and done, like the first 2 weeks of the year straight out of the blocks, I did that massive, full-on project. I was working till 10 at night. I can't sustain that for more than maximum 2 weeks. I can't sustain it physically for me, and also my child goes absolutely mental.
Yeah. Well, that's why you need a 4-hour work week, Ivanka.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Because what I can do whilst living on holiday, or certainly living somewhere that sustains little micro adventures, and micro holiday being going somewhere for the day. Why is that not a holiday? Taking yourself out of your environment.
Yeah. How long does it have to be a holiday?
I don't know. I read this article many years ago about this person. They talked about having micro adventures. Yeah. So before they had kids, they'd gone off on big, trek this and do that, and now they maybe go and camp out for one night.
Right.
And but that does break up. It disrupts your routine and is actually, I think, in many ways really restful. And plus camping, there's no chores. Literally you can spend 2 hours making a cup of coffee and playing Scrabble with a child that doesn't know how to spell yet, and it's perfectly entertaining.
It's fine.
Relaxing. So did I answer your question about
living on holiday? I don't know. I don't really know very much about holidays. I kind of like avoided. I don't know. I've definitely sort of spent a lot of. I remember. I've just spent a lot of time when I'm supposed to be on holiday, like on my laptop. I've certainly done that in the past. The last big holiday we did was to Greece, and you know what a disaster that was, because I lost my passport on the way to the airport. But it was, I think there's an aspect of like, there's the anticipation of the holiday, and then there's the holiday, and so if you could have like always be looking forward to a holiday, then that's nice, isn't it? But then it does put a lot of pressure on it, as if you do suddenly are facing the prospect of that being taken away from you as well, and you haven't got anything booked for ages, and it was expensive and blah blah blah.
I mean, I like the idea of a staycation, but a staycation is very hard to pull off, I think, and for it to be restful. I think the point of a holiday versus travelling, for example, or adventuring, or some verb like that, continuous movement in any direction, is like there's some sort of purpose of going somewhere. Whereas the purpose of a holiday is to rest, isn't it? Or is it?
Well, I think this is the thing. Like they say, a change is as good as holiday. I think a holiday is more about it being a change, and if you try and like impose this idea that you're going to be relaxed the whole time, you're probably going to be disappointed, because you've got to figure stuff out that's new and different things, and you're still bringing yourself and all of your problems onto the holiday. And it's like the idea that you're just suddenly going to be able to switch off and sit and read a book. Like, you can do a bit of that, but I think I like the idea of embracing that I'm going to do something different for a holiday, but I have not figured out how to achieve that.
But I think that is a rest, because you're not solving the same problem. Like, it distracts your mind. It's like an active meditation in some ways, where like, I remember talking to you about that those few days when we went off to northern Croatia, and like, even sort of in the bathroom seeing dust on the door, it's like, it's not my dust, I don't have to clean it. Whereas, while you're in your own home, or certainly for me, whilst I'm in my own home, I can always be doing something, or be feeling guilty that I'm not doing something. Whereas if I take myself out of my home, even if it's a wild beach for a day, I'm not very good on the beach when it's just a beach and it's full of people. I don't find that. I don't enjoy it that much. There's too, again, but I think that's because there's sort of pressure to do stuff. Buy this, have this, do that. Whereas you go off to a wild beach, and you're just swimming and working out how to get the picnic stuff from the van, which might be parked 2 kilometres away,
right,
and like doing paper, scissors, rock for who's going to have to do it's just different problems, I think, is a nice thing about holidays.
So I suppose that, on the one hand, there's a sort of like, I think there is a stress associated with having to figure out an alternative routine, but on the other hand, like, you're very much present as you're doing that, which is something that you can sort of lose when you're in a routine. And then, but I think, like, if I am on a beach trying to do nothing, that's when all of my haunting thoughts will come back to get me, and I find that a bit exhausting after a while. I'd rather just like I think if it's too relaxing, I'm going to struggle to relax. Whereas if it's just the right amount of relaxing, then I'm going to sort of be stimulated and kept in the present enough. And also I'm going to remember my experiences more than if I just like read a book the whole time.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was allowed to go, had a holiday, was allowed, is a funny phrase, but, had the opportunity to just lie and read a book. Not doing. I think the last time was when I went on some spa holiday in Austria. It was like this. They basically starve you. You pay to go on holiday, and they don't feed you. Okay. But
sounds like Deborah Francis White's writing retreat. But go on.
It does sound a bit like that. This was like it was fun. It was weird. It was fun. It was different. But I think the very fact that you really couldn't do anything. I remember I vividly remember having an afternoon because you're a bit tired because you're not eating anything. So I went to have a lie down and actually listened to music without having music as the background track to something else I was doing. So it's like one task at a time. So I think it's in part why I'm enjoying the swimming, the 1 kilometre swimming at the moment. It's because you can't talk.
Right.
I could purchase something that would allow me to listen to something, but I don't see the point. And you just have this, like, you're in an isolation chamber for a kilometre, and that's, you know, your job's just to complete the swim. So I'm enjoying that distraction.
I'm not enjoying the distraction outside my window. Here, see what it is. That was, that's what we're getting today. I haven't got clips put so much as a camera set up outside the window feeding, so that if anyone's watching, or if you do, go on the Patreon, you can actually see what all these noises are in the background of my thing. This studio for doing music in is really not feeling worth the, well, certainly not delivering on that aspect at the moment. Sorry. What do you think about package holidays? Have you been on one?
We went on one once when my dad died. My mum was like, right, we've got to do something completely different that we've never done before, and we'll go on a package holiday. And I've not been on one since. I think they have a different kind of pressure attached to them. Because, like, you know, they've got to deliver in this week or 2 weeks, whatever you've booked. This package of holiday has got to deliver, hasn't it? Whereas, you know, if you go off following your nose while camping, it's like, well, it could be great, it could be bad, doesn't matter, we've tried.
So when you say package holiday, you're thinking like there's activities organised, and there's a sort of organised, someone's going, right, come on, today we're all going to go down to this beach. It's very beautiful and calm. Okay, everybody, get in the bus. Yeah. That's my impression of a...
Yeah, I think you have to. It's very good. Nick used to do that. That's another reason why we will never go on a package holiday, because Nick used to run package holidays and be the person at the airport going, "Hello and welcome to your holiday." And
shouldn't you have all the connections then and be able to get?
No, but he loathes any organised activity whatsoever. Because when you arrive on these package holidays, the people greeting you have to sell you those outings,
right?
And they have targets.
Okay.
And they've got to kind of go, right, everybody, hey, well, I've organised this.
Sucks.
And, you know, like, he spent 7 years doing ski seasons, and then in the summer he had to do summer seasons. He did package holidays. So he'd go to somewhere often, work out what the outings should be, package them up, describe them as something, and then have to flog them. So, yeah. Well, I'm not,
I wish I had that. Some version of that skill. He should do like sign up for my newsletter and get my download on how to plan a holiday. When I think of like all I've done that I would consider a package holiday is just going to. It's more of a resort. You go to the resort and then it's like the food is there and you have to kind of think about leaving the resort. You're just like there's loads of people in there and you've got your little room and it's got a little view out to the sea or the sea in the distance or whatever it is, and then there's just like lunchtime. You just go and then you go and get all the buffet stuff and you get the cakes and you get the things and you eat, and then all you've got to do is sit and turn up, sit around, do nothing. And I've done a couple of those, and I feel like I've inherited a certain amount of snobbery about that sort of thing. It's not. I wouldn't mind going on a slightly classier one because I don't know. I certainly, when I went to, where did I go to? Lanzarote. There wasn't like a single person in that hotel that I felt like I would have a good conversation with. But I don't know. Maybe I should have tried more, because I've done it on my own, and then our trip to Greece was a sort of similar type of thing. But Sharon sort of like, laughed at me for sort of it being a package holiday. I'm like, well, I don't know, whatever. What's wrong with that?
Well, what is wrong with it? I don't know. I think I don't know where. I certainly have that same sort of idea of snobbery. I'm trying to work out where it's come from as well. But I think it's just because we've always travelled a lot as a family. We were always travelling from England to Croatia. By default, you're being an adventurous family because you've got to drive across Europe at least once a year. And then my father used to arrange detours. We'll drive over the Swiss Alps this year and have a look at the Swiss Alps, or we'll go, whatever. But I think there is a difference if you're travelling on your own. Yeah. I really struggled, for example, as a single person. For example, I didn't want to go skiing on my own. Yeah. Skiing, you can't really, people do, I'm sure, but I personally would not go on a ski holiday all by myself. And so, if you don't have somebody to go with, then going in some sort of organised activity. That's how I ended up doing the ski goddess thing. Well, I looked for them, I didn't find them. Otherwise, or they end up being like some dating thing, and you don't want dating things necessarily. You just want to go on your own. So
I think I would have been too scared to go on one of those things as well. But like I sort of in my as my 20s wore on, I was like, I'm just gonna have to go on holiday on my own. Like you always want to go with someone else, and it's like, well, I guess I'm not going with someone else, so I'm just going to start embracing. So I did the little kind of Euro trip thing and just kind of got that Interrail ticket and just turned up in some places. And it's quite the good thing about being on your own is you don't really have anyone else to answer to. So I did turn up in Berlin with no accommodation booked, not realizing that Sundays were like things were closed, and having to find an open cyber cafe to find like a B&B that I could go and stay in that night. But I don't really care. Like,
the worst disaster.
Sort of gives you a story.
Yeah.
But it's the opposite of like knowing, doing some research and getting the travel guide and knowing all the hot spots that you're supposed to visit, which I think Sharon likes to do.
I suppose it depends slightly on your risk appetite.
Yeah.
So there's like, where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? Bit. I'm not a great researcher up front. I have to say, I do. I might buy a guidebook or Google something. I can't remember the last time I went somewhere so new that I needed to do loads of in-depth research, like going to a national park area. You just Google the national park. It's not. And the national, you turn up at a national park, and there's usually some leaflets at the counter, and you can sort of, like that's not high risk, is it? I suppose how precious your holiday is and how much you spent on it. It's the same with like weddings. People who spend £50,000 on a wedding, it's like, well, what does it need to do to deliver?
Yeah, exactly. Like the more money you put into it, but like the more you put into it, the more you put on it. This beeping, I'm sorry. Right, it stopped beeping. Thank God for that. Like you put a lot of pressure on these things, don't you? The more you spend on them, but then often you get there and you go, I wish I'd got the more expensive. Like when I went to Thailand and we're sort of staying in like a grass hut with sort of a weak trickle of brown water coming out because we hadn't really planned it properly, and we've sort of turned up. And then seeing these like resorts with a nice that all look fancy, going, I wish I could just spend more money and just go and stay there, But then it can be a very expensive thing, can't it? Like if very easily, and you're giving money to someone on the other side of the world that you've never met and you're never going to see again. So there's this implicit sort of risk to. You don't want to like put too much money in before you're sort of like standing in front of the person. Sometimes that's my feeling. I think.
Well, what I was thinking about that motorcycle trip that we did. Like we met people who'd been planning their trip for years,
right?
And they knew all the sites they were going to see, and they knew all the detours they were going to do, and they'd planned it, and they'd got a wish list of things they had to see on the trip. We decided to do the trip based on the fact that the paperwork was infinitely easier than going across Asia or down Africa. So that was how we chose the continents. We chose the timing based on, the weather. we needed to get from here to there, or during this window of weather opportunity. And then we just vaguely knew it was so vaguely planned. And so, but then is that us being overprivileged arseholes who sort of go, well, I'm just going to drive from top to bottom of the world and I'll see what I can see on my way. But I also find that when, if you've done loads of research and you've got a list of all the things you need, it's like you cannot do everything. You cannot see everything, I don't think. And there is such a thing as trying to do too much on a holiday. It's like, just sit down. Can we all just sit down and shut up? Not do anything. Please.
Can we just all shush? Right, okay, I'm switching over to the diggers again. If you don't feel very rich and you need to take some time off because your brain's going to implode, I've had some staycations where I just played Portal 2 or went to Hyrule and played in Zelda Breath of the Wild and just explored Hyrule for 2 weeks, and that's quite fun, even if simultaneously a little bit miserable in comparison to doing the real thing. I've even in lockdown, one day I just went to the beach as Link in the game and then just sort of framed it so that it was just the scene, and then just had that on the TV so the water was just rippling and the day was sort of slowly changing. This is an ambient thing to just try and feel somewhere else. And a lot of watching those webcams of locations, because that's the thing. Last year there's been a lot of having to do that.
Yeah. We have a webcam on the seafront here that I keep forgetting to use when I want to check the waves. But anyway, go on.
No, there's a webcam app that you can get on Apple TV that I'll link to in the description. But one of them is Abbey Road, which is 5 minutes away.
Tourists walking across the zebra.
Well, you can, but it's also 5 minutes from where we live, so it's you could see the weather on the Abbey Road camera and go, it's just the same as what I'm looking at now. But yeah, sorry. Go on.
I've got this problem with Nick. If I don't take him away from the compound, as he calls it, he just can't sit and do nothing. He has to be doing something. Right, what are we doing now? What are we doing? I'm just going to make... the other day, he was supposed to be making lunch, but whilst he was making lunch, he made granola, hummus, lunch, baked some bread, mixed some crackers. I was like, I can't deal with the speed and the pressure. Just sit down. So, yes, going away... I think, for me, if we stayed home, we're not into playing computer games, but I suppose for us, going to a beach, a wild beach, which means no facilities, is our equivalent of stepping out of our world.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have that there. Well, it's because you live on holiday, you have got wild beaches nearby.
It's true. But we used to, at Brighton, we used to go up to Devil's Dyke, which isn't quite the same, but we'd get a takeaway curry and then drive up to one of the beauty spots and just sit and eat our curry. That's a nice thing. That's a holiday.
Yeah.
Or dinner.
I think the change is the thing, isn't it? The change of scenery, and lockdown, even just going upstairs and sitting at the window, that was the level of desperation for something. But then, to going to Milan and being able to sit on the balcony and sort of go to different places was such a... So we went to Rome. That's the last probably, it was a recent holiday, and we stayed somewhere down there. And I mean, that was 6 weeks sort of living on holiday. It was definitely a little bit of that, even though it was, someone else's home. Yeah. So in terms of here's the thing. Here's the last subject. There's the holiday where you go and like book a hotel and you sort of pay a bit, but the idea is it's, you know, you're going to be left alone, and hopefully there's a buffet breakfast at least, or you do a package one and there's like all the sort of stuff's catered and all you have to do is turn up and read a book. But then there's this whole other class of holidays where you go and visit someone, where you go and stay with someone, where you've got to like go. So I know you said I could come, but is this, you got to negotiate a time and you got to turn up, and then you got to like, you know, how much of that do you do, visiting people?
I don't do so much visiting people, but I live in a holiday, so lots of people come to visit me. Yes, we are terribly popular since we bought a house on an Adriatic island. It's funny. So there's people that have obviously an open ticket to come and visit us whenever they like. Close friends where you can go, look, can you just not, let's not do the dishwasher now. Let's just sit still and talk. So obviously there's a theme here of me trying to get other people to do nothing. And then there's having people in your house the whole time. People maybe that you don't know so well. Or you're just doing it for the first time. It's not that different to going on holiday with anyone really that you've never been on holiday with before. But the mismatch is the fact that for me, I live here. This is my house. This is my office is here, and my child we've got things to do. And the people visiting us are on their holidays, and then we're on a completely different mood.
Vibe.
It's like, what? and then you've got these added things. Like, I always put weight on in the summer. It's almost impossible to avoid, because everybody that comes to see you, you're going to do at least 1 or 2 fancy dinners. If you don't go out, you're still going to let's do a barbecue, let's do this, let's do that, ice cream, but every summer, who puts weight on in the summer? Nobody. Except me.
People, well, I mean, I
people
did.
Hosting.
Hosting involves a lot of like preparing meals for people, I suppose, and that was our Milan thing. Obviously, we were sort of getting fed every evening, and like, so I'd go put weight on as well.
What's weird though, without wishing to sound really ungrateful, people who come and stay with you can be over helpful.
Okay,
it's like, this is still my house, and so you know, like, you need to fit in with to some extent, you know, like every time you start doing stuff, you're sort of implying that I should have done it faster. It's weird. But that's how I feel. Starting to clear the table when we've finished eating. It's like, you know, this is where I was thinking about being ungracious. It's like, just stop it. Stop doing things. That's not how we do it around here. Here we sit and we talk after it's finished eating. We're not on some sort of like fucking delivery schedule for dinner.
Oh dear.
Anyway. So thanks for listening.
So go and stay at Ivanka's. She'll,
she loves it.
She loves it. I'm thinking like I sort of like, I did stay at that guest house in Morocco, where it sort of had a little bit of a sort of like, because there was nothing around for miles, like it was that sort of same dinner is at this time, and you know, even though it was like I don't know, it was like servants or kind of like servant type people. That's a weird thing. Certain places you go and there's like servants, or like even just in a hotel where there's people that you're supposed to tip, or I don't know, or they want to carry your stuff, and you're like, but what is the arrangement here? What am I expected to do? You know? Yeah,
I mean, I remember I've stayed in a place where, because people aren't paying to come and visit. I love having people here. Let me don't get me wrong. It's really nice. We've had visitors. Honestly, I love to see it, but especially I think there is a difference between people I know really well and then that are really, really like my mum's staying. She's not an inconvenience at all, because she fits in around with what we're doing, and we also accommodate her moods. And I've got good friends that come, like you know, whatever, that I really enjoyed them coming to stay. And I enjoy new people, because we've been invited to people's houses a lot when we've been travelling, and it's so nice, and it gives you a completely different view of the place, and it gives you a very different experience. And I want to give that experience to other people. I just, when I wake up in the morning, want to sit quietly in the garden drinking my coffee and watching the birds.
Leave me alone. God.
I'm not here to be like, make yourself a coffee. You don't need to ask me if you can make yourself a coffee, but you do need to ask me. It must be awful staying with me.
Oh,
but no, but there's a difference between I've stayed at a place where we were the only guests. So therefore we were the only people that they were preparing food for and doing things for. But you sort of arrange a time, breakfast will be at this time and lunch will be at this time, and are you having lunch today, sort of thing. We did that in Colombia. We stayed somewhere to have a little break from our bike trip, but it was lovely because it did feel highly catered. But also we did muck in just for fun because they were nice people and that felt nicer, but it's a different relationship to somebody you're sort of making friends with, and then inviting them into your home.
If you're not sort of employing them, it's different. Sharon says that it's unfair that I said that she laughed at the package holiday, and that it was that because I booked it sort of like through someone else that booked me a package holiday. And it was like, because a travel agent like literally rang me up and offered to organise something. I was like, actually, I think that is going to help get this thing done. Yes, do it. And then she was like, all he's done is clicked on a packet. I'm like, whatever. But I will clarify that it wasn't the package holiday per se. Although I still do feel that I would rather do something more, I don't know, sophisticated somehow. I can't lie, but still.
I like to think that I'm very sophisticated.
I didn't mean to misrepresent Sharon.
We don't.
No.
Sharon, we never, we never think any ill of you.
It's true.
It's true.
You never could. Clip 4. Well, I'm going to show everybody this frickin' nightmare outside again one last time. So this Tim Ferriss thing, like this cadence, I want to see if it's a thing. The thing's beeping again. Yay! Should I be like just doing an intensive 3 months of work and then like 2 months of like just something completely different? Not a holiday, not just doing nothing, but just doing a different thing, having a different experience, having a different. Because he's like the opposite of what was it like? The opposite of happiness is boredom rather than unhappiness, and actually the axis that we're interested in is excitement rather than happiness or sadness. Or like in games, it's like it's not necessarily fun, it's more about engagement. So it's like that excitement or engagement is the thing you're looking for, more than whether it's good or bad necessarily. But this idea that you want to sort of introduce things that you want to optimize how many things you're excited about doing in your life, so you sort of plan to sort of go away to just live a certain life for these 3 months and then come back and like get into the work, because I love working when I'm working, and I always have this like tension of I'm really enjoying working at the moment. If I work too hard, I'm going to burn out and then I'm going to lose a month. But what if it's not like that? I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to happily burn myself up because I've got this other thing that I'm going to do that's going to use a completely different set of faculties. So it's more like I'm sort of burnt out on this one thing. Can I then just go and do something else that's completely different and just sort of get? And so I'm always like, I've got some excitement going and some energy going the whole time, but it's just in a completely different type of thing.
I can't get past the accommodating life in between that, but I like the idea that working it's very hard to switch work on and off. I suppose it depends what your work is, because I can always, there's always things that I can be doing that are nice, or the things that I put off. Like I had a call yesterday with somebody who's had somebody built them a website and they hate the website and they don't know how to sort it out. I felt so sorry for him. But it's like, these are calls and things that I can do that technically, certainly my daughter will define them as mummy's working because I'm at the computer talking to somebody. But I don't think that's work. I think it's just having more time for, but it also is work. I don't know. I find that on and off switch thing, it's so impractical for me right now that I can't consider it seriously.
The way I look at what my reference point is always I was working. It was when I worked for Oyster, and I'd gone away on a holiday, and I'd been there for sort of maybe 6, 7, 8 days, and I was just like getting on with the holiday stuff, and then all of a sudden I get a phone call, and it's a client, like one of the clients, with a bug about the website that I'd been like, working on, and that like toppled all of my zen, all of my chill so much that I was like, that is why you've got to have a really hard line on that stuff, because that work world, that the sort of way that world is couched, and the things that are urgent and the things that are really important in that context are so at odds with what is important when you're on holiday, that if you let them in, you're just not on holiday anymore. And I just, why I've got like a really hard line, like I have to put boundaries up for holidays, because it's kind of a fragile thing. Because if you start thinking about like, oh, who's on this call, when's the deadline for this, oh, there's a bug on, it's like it takes a while to bleed that out, like the radiator. You've got to kind of get rid of it, you've got to rinse it out of your brain, or it's just gonna like ruin your day. I
think I forgot, I mean, I think I'm a little bit far away from that, I think that's why I need to go on activity holidays. Like ski holidays, or walk up the Himalayas, or go on where you've got a thing to do, so there is no time to accidentally answer the phone.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I was on a bike ride when this phone call came in. I wasn't doing nothing, but like I was, we were out for the day on a bike ride doing something, and then it's like this freaking thing cuts through the clouds like a poisonous like demon, and I'm like, I can't, this is no good. It's the same reason I don't want to do contracting when I'm working on my all my own stuff, because it just tears through it in such a like, it's so orthogonal to the way I'm thinking like about the things I want to be thinking about. But that is sorry, I was going to say, the friend is staying with us at the moment. She doesn't particularly like her work at the moment. It's very unsatisfying. She doesn't enjoy it. And then yesterday, some arsehole, for lack of a better word, phoned her up with some bad news about work, and she was in tears. It's like, she's on holiday. Yeah.
Why would you phone her up? Why would you do that? It's just so rude. I think part of the holiday thing is that you should do what you want to do, and nobody's allowed to, like, you know what I mean? It's got to be your choices.
And it can take some effort to figure out what those things are that you want to do. One last thing I would just like, so you got, a nice thing about having a job with a number of hours and certain number of holiday days is when you're on holiday, you're still getting paid. If you're a contractor, like you never really want to take any time off, because you're not getting paid for any of those hours that you're not like earnestly working, and so it just feels really, it's like that's a lot of money per day that I'm leaving on the table there if I go on holiday, and then that's what sort of leads to this cycle of having to get completely destroyed by a project before you'll take a break from it that I've succumbed to. But that's why having an app that's just selling without me having to kind of physically be working on it every day has been very as someone that doesn't want to do all those sacrifices that you have to do when you're working for someone in a job, but in terms of sort of like feeling like you're doing what you should be doing, it gives me a little bit of that, oh god, I could actually go on a trip and I wouldn't just be sacrificing like a lot of money, so that's quite nice. So I would recommend, if you can create a passive income stream by Majic by doing something 5 years ago and fluking that there was a pandemic, then I would recommend that. It's freeing. So do that. But yeah, I
think my current freelancey status, and sort of business only, self-employed, nobody's paying my holiday money situation does heavily taint my attitudes to holidays, for sure. But I can't wait to I really want to go skiing. I really hope we can go skiing this year, so I can go on a holiday. That's what I view as a holiday.
Okay. Well, skiing holiday for Ivanka. Let's make it happen.
Yes, please. Somehow. That's what I want.
And then for me, I don't know. Holiday. I've got this book a holiday thing in my Dungood every day that just
keep snoozing.
Yeah, more or less. But yeah, there we go. Let's end it and go to the titles. Now let's do that.
No,
So,
we'll get
thanks
serious
for-
then after summer.
Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, you can go to grandpodcast.com and you can subscribe. And if you support us on Patreon, you can see the video and see I put a little video feed of the stuff outside my window, so you can associate the sounds with what's actually going on. That's fun. Where can people find you on the internet, Ivanka?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter, in between various people ranting about things that
Okay.
I don't know what they're talking about.
I see.
Yes, that's
can
what
find-
happens.
You can find me at Michael Forrest and squares.tv. And today I'm going to be doing, there's no point mentioning, you can get donegood.app. I'm doing a webinar today, but there's no point telling the people on the stream. I thought, I'll promote the thing. Whatever. That's grandpodcast.com. Come and subscribe. We're live on Twitch every Friday morning-ish, depending on what else happens. And it'd be lovely to see you in the chat. With that, I think that's about it, isn't it? Unless there's anything else.
That's about it. No, I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm glad we made it.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.